Time now for global business updates. And here we have Rotus Oddiri.
Happy Tuesday morning to everyone. T is for Tuesday. T is for technology. T is for Taiwan, Taipei, the TAIEX. Technology stocks in Taiwan have been falling. In fact, they've been falling since last week after Donald Trump gave that interview to Bloomberg Business Week, where he said that Taiwan should be paying for protection from the United States. That continued into this week after Joe Biden over the weekend announced that he was stepping down. Why are stocks in Taiwan falling? Let's look at the TAIEX index. That's falling. This is benchmark index in Taiwan. It's been up about 26% so far this year, falling by 3%. You look at another thing that begins with T, TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, world's largest contract chip maker, down about 3%. That's in Taipei. MediaTek, which is the globe's top mobile chip developer by shipments, that also fell as well. The second largest contract chip maker, which is in Taiwan, UMC, that's United Microelectronics, shares fell. ASE Technology Holdings, that was down. Foxconn, which is a key NVIDIA AI server maker, that was down about 5-6%. Pretty much, we have the CHIPS Act from US President Joe Biden. Investors are worried that basically if Biden, or rather Democrats, don't win, essentially the CHIPS Act could be tanked and, all these investments essentially unraveled. We move from there to the electric vehicle space, BYD. Apparently, according to a securities filing that we saw on yesterday, Berkshire Hathaway, which is being run by the sage of Omaha, Warren Buffett, have sold shares in BYD. They've trimmed down their holdings from 20% to just under 5%. And they sold about 1.3 million shares, worth about $43 million. Berkshire Hathaway had a very long-term view on BYD. They bought shares back in 2008. That was when Barack Obama got into office. Still, if you look at the earnings for BYD, they're still pretty good. The company, as far as net profits for the first quarter of this year, over $600 million. 11% growth, 1.6 million vehicles sold in the first half of this year. I think that's about 28% growth. So BYD still strong, but it looks like cutthroat competition in China is what Berkshire Hathaway is worried about. So they've trimmed down their holdings. We move from Asia to the United States. We had our special report on CrowdStrike, which of course was looking at how that global outage had impacted businesses around the world. Delta Airlines continues to see outages so far this week. They're saying this is going to continue through this week. And a lot of people are still seeing flight cancellations. That did not go down well with Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg, of course, is the transportation secretary over in the United States. And he put out a couple of tweets saying that Delta is going to be held responsible. So you see what he put out here. He's saying, we've seen, or rather received, reports of continued disruptions and unacceptable customer service conditions at Delta Airlines, including hundreds of complaints filed with the U.S. Department of Transportation, USDOT. I've made clear to Delta that we will hold them all applicable to all passenger protections. He also said in a follow-up tweet that Delta must provide prompt refunds to customers who choose not to take rebooking, free rebooking for those who do, and timely reimbursements for food and hotel stays to consumers affected by these delays and cancellations, as well as adequate customer service. For CrowdStrike, the stock price, as we reported, fell over 20% on Friday. The losses continued yesterday on Monday, falling by as much as 13%. And we just got wind of a summons. The CEO of CrowdStrike, George Kurtz, he's been summoned to Capitol Hill to testify before Congress in the U.S. So you can expect that he's going to be grilled. However, RBC Capital Markets, they put out a note on CrowdStrike they are still bullish on the stock. They've reduced their price target, saying that because of near-term issues, they've cut their price target, but they still say that CrowdStrike is best in class as far as security firms are concerned. And then in the long term, they still see the stock, the company, doing pretty well. So this is just a temporary hiccup for them. Let's come to Nigeria and talk about CNG. There's been a lot of talk about CNG. Minister of Information was at the Association of Advertising Agencies of Nigeria. He was telling them that they should get behind the CNG initiative and basically advertise and put out, awareness campaigns for people to get behind advertising. So here's a quote from Mohammed Idris, of course, the Nigeria Minister of Information and National Orientation, saying the CNG initiative offers a promising solution capable of reducing transportation costs by more than 50%. CNG is not only affordable, but also environmentally friendly. Well, there's been some pushback on that. I was at an event last week where I got to hear from Professor Femi Shoaibu, who is in the Department of Economics at UNILAG, and he's saying how much gas is there to go around in terms of the lower supply and higher prices that you want to allocate to CNG. Here's what he said.
In a situation where you are complaining that people should use gas to cook in their house, then you are introducing cars that are using gas. And what are you saying? You are reducing the supply of gas. Yesterday, I had a conversation with my student in class when I was talking about electricity. He said almost all the electricity we are using in Nigeria today are power from gas. And gas is becoming very scarce. The little gas we need to cook at home, to power the station, and now we also been taking part of it, taking away to now power electricity, the gas and CNG. So more or less, gas price will also begin to go up without looking at it, and will harden the problem.
Now, let's round off in Nigeria with the banks and that FX one-off windfall tax on unrealized gains, or rather realized gains, for foreign exchange for the banks. As you know, a letter was written to the legislature. They've passed it to take up 50% of that. But is the money there? We spoke with Patrick Otonya, who, of course, is the publisher at the Money Central Media Limited. He says the money isn't. And this is something I've explained in the past, but here he is with the explanation on whether or not the government can realize those funds.
The problem is that most of those, because I looked at about 10, 12 annual reports of the banks, most of those profits are unrealized gains, right? So the banks have not actually booked those profits. They've just had to make an accounting reference to this. So let me explain it a little bit so that the layman can understand. So Rotus, in last year you had, let's say you had $1,000 in your domiciliary account, right? In June, before the Tinubu government took over. So that $1,000 was worth about 485, 500, was booked at dollars are about 500 to 1, right? So that's about 500,000 naira.
Right.
So Cardoso comes in, liberalizes the market. By December, the value of the naira was around 1,000 to 1. So your $1,000 is now what, $1 million?
Right, naira.
$1 million naira.
Yeah.
But you've not sold your dollars. Your dollars are still in your DOM account, right? You've not closed out your trade. You've not booked that profit.
Right.
So the government is now coming to tell you, you have to pay me half the gains on that increase. So that's where we are with the banking. So a lot of the FX gains are tied to things like derivatives. So the banks have their long dollar, they have to put some derivative trades on to hedge their positions, right? So they can't just go and unwind those trades because the government wants to take taxes. So a company like GT Bank, right, they booked 440 billion naira in unrealized foreign exchange gains, right? So basically, the government wants them to hand over 220 billion naira. Where are they going to get the money from? They're just going to raise 500 billion from the market. Yeah, so you want to take that money and hand it over to the government. Doesn't make any sense. So I expect the banks to begin to give some pushback. The fiscal guys, they don't understand what they're talking about. There's no money. Those are paper profit. There's no money for you to go and collect.
All right, that's all we've got for this Tuesday morning in the business world. Back to you guys in the studio.
I mean, very, very good one, Rotus there. Very Oh, sorry. Very good one, Rotus, there, like I was saying. But you're totally spot on. The government should watch it. This money is not even there. And I'm really happy about the breakdown the Money Central person did give. The money is not even there. They've not even booked this profit. And you're trying to tax it. So what does it show? You told the same banks to go to the market to raise money. They're just in the process of raising money. And the next thing you're already saying, let's tax them even more. And today the government was saying in the papers that it's not going to affect the citizens. Heck, it's going to affect the citizens.
It is.
Because the banks too are employers of labor. They employ the citizens.
Yeah.
And it reflects one way or the other. So that's a sad reality. We should be careful. At first, they made the idea of a sugar tax. That couldn't sail. Now they're looking about this for profits. Look for other ways of raising this cash, governments. Think out of the box. Think. Mining is one. Harmonize mining. Gas is another one. Harmonize it. We're a gas nation. We're wasting it.
All right. Well, thank you, Rufai. There's so many options there. That sugar tax, I know there's a debate between both of us as to whether or not to agree with it, especially if it's plowed back into the health sector.